Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. We got another XR here on the channel. This one's a 1996 XR250 that I just recently picked up. And this one hasn't been running for a long time. I was told at least 15 years. The guy I got it from got it in a trade, he said. And it's been sitting for a while. As you can see, it's also looks like it's been pretty well abused. We got a bald rear tire. The front is almost as bad. Cosmetically, looks like it's got the original tank graphic on it still. Surprisingly, those things usually flake off pretty quick. Plastics are all in decent shape. The only blemish I see here is this stitch work that was done on the rear fender. Nothing else is cracked that I can see. Missing a couple bolts here and there. Nothing major. Front end fender looks okay. Front number plate, headlights all intact. Gators have seen better days. These are pretty well dry rotten and rock hard. Front rim looks okay, front tire shot. You can see we got many years of crust built up on here. Looks like there might have been an oil leak or something at one point. But it does have compression. I was able to, turn the engine over, and I didn't kick real hard or anything, but it felt pretty decent. So, we're gonna clean this up. We're gonna degrease it, and probably end up having to take this cap off at least. And if there's a seal, hopefully it's just a valve cap seal or something that went. But we'll address that once we get it cleaned up and see what's going on. Sure, the carburetor is going to need to be gone through. Like I said, this thing has been sitting for many years, so I'm sure that's pretty crusty. Fuel rail, or the frame rails, look okay. Got a lot of dirt on here I got to clean off to get a closer look, but I wanted to show it to you beforehand. But usually these frame rails rot out on these bikes. My 98 XR400 had some major frame rail rot, and I think those are pretty common on these bikes. The other place is the kickstand weld here breaks a lot because the moisture builds up in there and rusts out from the inside, and that breaks. But that seems pretty solid. I think we're missing the bash guard here. Should be a metal bash guard that goes on there, but you got to clean all that up and look and see what's going on underneath the dirt. This is a little concerning. It's like the wiring from the stator is all taped up. Let's see what we got for an air filter here. We got an air filter, that's good. Looks like the hinge part actually is broken on here. There should be a right here. That's not a big deal. Coming up top here, we got the original trip meter. All the cables are intact, clutch isn't frozen. This is kind of messed up. Oh, the perch is messed up here. So we'll get a new perch on there. Throttle still works, nothing's gummed up there. It's a little sticky, but it's not completely frozen. You got front and rear brakes. I think the rear brakes might be sticking a little bit. But that's probably gonna happen with something that's sitting this long. But we'll get it all addressed. The seat is in excellent shape. Not one tear in there. So that's a bonus. Let's see, we got yeah, it's pretty decent compression that I can feel just by doing it by hand. So first thing I'm going to do is get this power washed and see what we're working with underneath all the grime. I'm going to get that carburetor off of there, start cleaning that up. We're going to check for spark, do all the normal stuff, and see if we can get this thing to fire. So let's get started. All right, you can see what I'm working with a little bit better now. Came pretty clean. I ended up using a whole can of the Maxima Chain Clean degreaser on this. I just sprayed a whole can basically on the motor and let that sit a little while. I got a brush and kind of scrubbed it and agitated it to get loosened up. actually came pretty decently clean. You can see the undercarriage. I was a little worried about that drain plug because it was covered up by mud earlier, and everything looks good. I was afraid that was like stripped off or JB welded in or something stupid like that, but it looks okay. The grime on the rear end here, on the brakes and around the hub and stuff, just because this thing's probably never been degreased. All that chain lube over the years just building up. But the rims came out real clean. They look pretty straight. They're not messed up. A couple spokes I saw were a little loose, but nothing major. Exhaust is all intact, not dented, not rusted out. So all looks good. This side here, you can see this side cover came real clean. Looks like a fairly fresh gasket on there too. So somebody was into this at one point. I'm gonna figure out what was causing the oil leak up here. You can actually see everything now. And this here looks like someone just RTV'd the crap out of that just to get that sealed up from water getting in there. I'm gonna take this off. We'll see what we got going on there. Maybe there's a new rubber seal I could get for that. We'll find out. But first things first, we're gonna see if she can spark. So I'm gonna get this in the garage and we'll see if it sparks. Then we'll tear into the carburetor and go from there. But other than that, I think pretty happy with the way that looks. Pretty decently clean, and ready to get it in the house and work on it. Okay, back inside the workshop here, we're gonna start digging into this. I'm wondering if the last person had some problems with the decompression unit here, and they just unhooked it. Because this cable's all messed up. You can see it looks like they duct taped it in spots. So I think the cable's jacked up, and you can't really adjust it, so that's probably why they have it unhooked. So we're gonna get one of those ordered at one point, but for now we can leave this go. I'm gonna get that spark plug out of there and check for spark first thing. And we're gonna get an air line and blow out this area right here, just because dirt and debris likes to sit right down in that hole next to the spark plug. So I just wanna make sure when we open that up, we don't get junk falling down in there. Got to be one of the worst spots for a spark plug on bikes that I've seen. Looks like it's been in there forever. NGK D8EA, but look how rusty that is. That's been in there for ages. So I don't even know if this plug's any good. Let's kick it over and see. You zoomed in here on the plug. See what happens. Oh yeah, we got spark. Yep, she's sparking. On a newer plug I'm gonna try just to see if it's any better spark. Let's see what we got here. Yep, we got good spark. Right, I'm gonna throw this one back in there for the time being, just so nothing falls down in there. And I'm gonna take the fuel tank off and the seat so I can get at that carburetor a little easier. We're gonna take that apart because I'm sure that's gonna need gone through. Let's get that started there. Already finding mismatched bolts on this thing. We got a 10mm on that side and a Allen bolt on this side. Subframe looks solid. I know these ones are prone to rot out too. I had my XR400 crack up here too from rust. This one looks okay. It looks like it was uncorked. There should be a snorkel there, but a lot of people ripped those out and rejetted for a little more power. Looks like we got Something was building a nest there. All right, let me get this fuel tank out of the way next. Get this fuel line out of the way. As you can see, it's pretty crusty under there. I'm just gonna do a little cleaning before I move along. Before I take the carburetor off, I'm just gonna knock off this heavy stuff. And we already got the spark plug back in there, so we don't have to go to worry about dirt falling in there. But I am gonna adjust the valves at some point, so I wanna make sure all this is clean before I open these caps up. All right, that's a little bit better. Give me a clean slate here to work on taking the carb out and not have to worry about getting dirt down anywhere. So let's get that out of there next. Before I pull the carburetor off, I'm going to run a little oil down the spark plug hole. Just let that sit on those rings for a bit before we really start to try to start it up. Figure it's not going to hurt to get a little lubrication down there for how long things been sitting without running. Pretty tight fit, but it actually came out fairly easy. Expected it to be more of a challenge, but luckily the boots on the intake and the airbox side were both pretty soft still, so I was able to just kind of squeeze it out. Just gotta get this last throttle cable off here. Okay, let's get this over on the bench. Okay, I can hear some fuel in there, so I'm going to try to drain this out before I crack that open. See if I can just put it right into this cap here. Fuel looks a little dirty. Not too bad, really. That's not bad at all. Wow, that's a lot cleaner than I thought it would be. Yeah, tip of that float needle looks okay. Let's take a look at that pilot. Looks like a brand new pilot jet. Oops. Looks like we got a 45S pilot jet. Does look blocked up. I don't know if you can see it on here. It's passing fluid through it now. Okay, now we can see through it. There's a better look at it. These holes are open. Okay, pilot jet's good. Let's get a look at the main jet. Make sure the openings holes are on the emulsification tube or whatever that's called. Make sure that's all open. Yep, I can see light through them all. There you go. Okay, those are open. Okay, main jet is a 132. Yeah, 132 main. This one looks like it's stock. The pilot jet looks like that was changed out at one point. That looks too new. I'll have to see what a stock pilot's supposed to be in this thing. Here's the air idle screw. I want to see how many turns out this is. So we are at 1, 2, 2. So 2 turns out on the air idle screw. So not exactly the idle screw that takes care of the position of the slide. That's done with this right here. This one handles the amount of air that's getting in there during idle circuit. I think there's a washer that's supposed to come out of there too. And there's an O-ring too. So we got an O-ring and a little washer that's on there too. Make sure these passages here are open. Okay. Those all look good. Okay, those are all open. So that carb really wasn't in bad shape, but it looks like somebody may have either maybe used ethanol-free gas or actually was in there recently to clean out the carburetor, so it really wasn't too bad. Put this back together. Did a quick search online, and those are the correct size jets for in the stock 250 is the 45 pilot and the 132 main. So we're going to leave those alone, just put them back in, cleaned up. Just going to back out to 2 turns out like we found it. 1, 2. So before I throw the carb on, I'm going to adjust the valves on this thing and take the caps off. But I'm going to come down here and take this whole side cover off just so I can see what's going on here with this. It kind of looks like the chain might have popped off at one point and broke the case cover that's supposed to go here. There's like a chain guide that goes here kind of. And we're missing a bolt here. I can see some broken metal down here. So that's that piece of metal that covers this to keep the chain from busting the case if it comes off. So I'm going to just take this off because I got to get it at top dead center anyway. And I kind of want to see what's going on here, and then we'll get the valves adjusted too. Before we do that though, I am going to drain the oil. We got the plug down here, and then also the one on the frame too I'm going to do. Yeah, it's pretty black. It looks like we got some old oil in there. Since I'm sure it's never been done before, I'm going to take the banjo bolt off here to get to the oil strainer that's up on the down tube of the frame. So I got to get this out of the way here first. Hopefully this comes out easy. Oh, that was loose. Not loose, but not frozen. That wasn't too bad. One thing that's easily overlooked are these strainers in the frame down tube. And you got a little bit of metal here. There's some metal on there. Other than that, it's not too bad, but that's a little concerning. Okay, we got that cleaned up. Gonna throw it back in there. Okay, we also got the other oil filter that's behind this cover right here. So let me pop that off. Okay. I should have another one of these so I can replace that while I got this apart. Spring, new filter, and the cover. Get the side cover off next. I'm gonna get this shifter out of the way first. Ooh. Ooh, we got some exposed wire in here. To figure out which ones those go to. We have sparks, so those might be going for the lights. Those could be attached to the lights. Looks like somebody went crazy with the orange RTV. So it looks like the flywheel might have been rubbing against those wires and just ate through the insulation on there. So I'm sure the lights aren't working. Like I said, we have spark, but we're gonna let's see what we can do with covering those up, putting them back in there the right way. I'm gonna have to get a new gasket here. All right, I'm gonna take a little detour from doing the valves. I figured I'd address the stator wiring here. Someone wrapped electrical tape all around it and put that orange RTV in there. And you can see there's a lot of exposed wires, so it's no good. So figured I'd take this apart on the bench and you know, try to resolder stuff, maybe put some covering on the wires there, and pack this back in there, make sure we got continuity and all that good stuff. So start by pulling off the old electrical tape that somebody had wrapped on there. Yikes. Oh my. Look at this wiring job. So they just had electrical tape covering that up. It's not even soldered together. Wow. Keep digging. I'm almost afraid to keep digging. Good Lord. It looks like they're all like that. They just wrapped the bare wire together and taped it up. But still, all these are messed up, so I don't know how that thing was even sparking. Holy cow. That's absolutely horrible. Look at that. Yeah, we're gonna have to rewire that. Wow. So I think I'm just going to remove it from the side cover altogether here. See if I can get these Allen bolts out. Just for my reference later here, I just want to make sure I put this back the right way when I take it off. So these two solder marks here are towards the top of the case. So I'm just going to make sure I line it back up there. So I'm looking at the wiring diagram for an XR400, same year, but it should be the same for a 250, I would think. But either way, the blue with the yellow tracer is one of the wires that goes to the CDI box. The other ones, yellow, pink, they all go to the AC regulator. There's the red and black wire, which is also for the CDI box. You can see they're all twist tied up here. They just had electrical tape loosely wrapped around them, so I don't know how this thing was even sparking. It's actually pretty amazing that it was. So I'm sure if that got wet, it probably messed with things. You know, being that this was just taped together down by the sprocket, which that gets pretty muddy and wet all the time when you're riding through the woods. So I'm sure this was giving them all kind of problems. Probably intermittent spark. It would probably die on them when they get wet. So the fact that I got it to see that it sparked in the way that this looks is pretty freaking amazing. So I'm going to clean this up. We're going to cut this off. And I'm going to attempt to solder and put some heat shrink tube over top of that to waterproof it. It's going to be kind of challenging because I got some on this side of the rubber grommet. There's two that are messed up where the flywheel is rubbing. And then this side, they're all messed up, so I don't have much slack after the rubber grommet, but we're going to try. So yeah, it looks like, I'm guessing the chain probably broke, took out the stator wiring, because you could see the remnants of the broken cover that's on there. And you know, they just taped everything up. Okay, we got the wires cut and cleaned up. I got my heat shrink tube on one end. So I'm going to solder these two together on this end of the grommet. And slide that shrink tube over top of it, heat it up, seal it up, and then move over to this side and do all of these wires here. So I'll just slide the heat shrink over top of this, solder them up on the correct wires, clean this up a little bit better too, but we'll seal that up and we should be good to go. Okay, I got the solder job done here. Pretty tedious process. Got the heat shrink tube over top of where it was joined together, so hopefully it'll keep it waterproof. And I'm just going to double check the continuity on these wires after moving this around a little bit, make sure they're still all connected. So let's start with the pink. Just come down on the stator side. Okay, that's good. Let's do yellow next. Okay, we got continuity there. All right, we'll do the black and the red. That's good. Let's do green. Green's on this little double plug here. So I gotta grab that one prong. Okay, we're good there. And finally blue. Blue's the one that goes into the pickup here. I'm gonna kind of push this down into the cover. Get some contact there and blue. Okay, all right. So that's good for continuity. I'm going to double check, see if I can find resistance values on those online, just to make sure my solder job didn't put too much on there and, you know, mess up the resistance. But I think we're good. I'm going to move on. All right, I threw it back on just to test the spark to make sure I didn't lose that. So let's give it a couple kicks. I'm going to try to hold this here so you can see it. All right. It actually looks like a better blue spark than what we had before. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but yeah, it looks like it might be a darker blue spark, which is good. So I popped that back off just for now. I'm waiting for the gasket to come in here so I can seal that back up. But I did, if you're wondering, I did make a little cover for these wires out of a piece of tin that I had laying around. Just kind of cut it and bent it to fit that and kind of hold those wires down in there so that that flywheel doesn't touch them again. So I think we're good to go with this. Just gonna move over back to the valves. We're gonna pop these covers off. This one looks like it was chewed up already. Looks like someone put some channel locks on there or something, but I was able to break it free, luckily. And we're gonna pop these off, get this at top dead center, and we're gonna check the valves. Okay, we got the bike at top dead center on the compression stroke. And when I come up to the valves, the left side, the left intake is pretty tight. I can just barely feel it moving a little bit. So that's really tight. The front left exhaust it's got some play in there. Seems kind of loose. We come around to the other side. We have no play at all in the front right exhaust valve here, and then for the intake, no play at all. So those are really tight. So the intake on a 96 and on XR250, the clearances on the intake is going to be 0.004 inches, and the exhaust is 0.005 inches. So I got the 0.005 inches here, and I can't even fit that in there at all. Okay, we got a little bit of drag. Good there, 0.005 inches. Let's tighten this back up. Whoops. Okay, we got a little play in there, that's good. All right, let's do the intake side now. Okay, intake 0.004 like we said. Just loosened up a little bit. Okay, feels good. Do the same on the other side. Okay, we got a little movement in there now, that's good. And this one here was already loose. Let's check the gap on that one. Seems like this was the only one that was adjusted correctly. Okay, car's back on. We're getting closer to starting this up. I'm going to yank this old air filter out, and we're going to put something new in there. See, it's in pretty bad shape. Looks like an old uni filter. So we're going to get a new filter in there. All right, this thing calls for 1.5 quarts. I'll fill that up now. Plug the GN4 going in. All right, I'm kind of anxious to see if this thing will fire up. So I don't have an air filter in there yet. It's still in the mail on the way. But we got everything else ready to go. Fuel in the bike, oil in the bike. So we're going to see if we can get it to fire up. wants to. He wants to. There we go. It's trying. All right, guys, I'm going to leave off here on this video. I'd call that a win considering how that stator looked to get this thing running. And, you know, the valves are all out of whack, and the carb really wasn't in bad shape considering how long it's been sitting. So it must have been ethanol-free gas or something in there. But really, you know, the stator needed done, even though it was throwing spark before I got into it. It was kind of a lighter spark, and once I had it resoldered, you know, it was nice dark blue. So that's only going to help things in the long run. If that would have gotten wet at all, I'm sure it would have cut out and leave me stranded back in the woods, which wouldn't have been good. So all that's left really on it is, so I got new brakes coming, new brake pads. I got to find gators to replace the ripped up fork gators there. I got to get a couple cables. Eventually I'll get one for the odometer because that one is just cut off here. Right there, you can see. And we got this to address yet for the auto decompression, or not the auto, but the manual decompression cable, which is duct taped and messed up, so it's not working. So we're gonna get one of those. Got to get a perch here for the clutch. Got that air filter coming. I got a uni air filter coming in the mail. I got wheel bearings to put on the back. I have chain slider that I got coming as well. So we're going to put that on there. Hopefully this swing arm bolt comes out, because I know those can be real fun to get out if it's corroded. I also have the chain guard right here. I'm going to see what I could do, even though this is kind of busted off here. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to fix that, just to hold the chain guard in place to keep the wires protected. And I got a cover coming as well. I got a bash guard coming in the mail. And I have steering head bearings coming in the mail too. So a lot left to do, but the heavy lifting's done, I think. We got it running. So once we get it back in the woods, or I can ride it up and down the road, I can kind of get a gauge for how the power is, and you know, see if we have to do a top end. But it wasn't smoking or anything, so that's a good sign. But we'll find out. Probably in the next video on this bike, once I get all that stuff done. Maybe next week, depending on how much time I have. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. Leave me some likes, comments. Make sure you get alerted for that video when it comes out. So appreciate the views, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.